For most of human history, our origin seemed like a simple story. We evolved in Africa, grew in number, and spread across the planet. Civilization, language, art, technology, everything flowed from that beginning. But hidden deep inside our DNA, scientists have found a far more fragile truth. A truth that shows just how close humanity came to disappearing forever. Roughly 900,000 years ago, long before modern humans existed, Earth entered one of its most severe climatic crises. Ice sheets advanced, sea levels dropped, and rainfall across Africa collapsed. Forests turned to dust, rivers dried, and once fertile plains became wastelands. For countless species, it was a period of decline and extinction, and among those species teetering on the edge were the ancestors of every living human today. For decades, scientists knew that something strange lurked in the human genome. When they mapped genetic diversity across populations, they noticed a gap, a dramatic reduction in variation that didn't fit the fossil record. Somewhere in our distant past, humanity had passed through an event that nearly erased its genetic diversity. No fossil clearly documented it, no archaeological layer recorded it. It was a silent collapse, written only in the code of life itself. In 2023, a team of geneticists and evolutionary biologists finally uncovered the details of that event. Using advanced statistical models and comparisons between modern and ancient DNA, they reconstructed the deep population history of our species. What they found was extraordinary. Between 900,000 and 800,000 years ago, the global population of our ancestors fell to fewer than 1,300 breeding individuals, a number smaller than a typical village. And that population size remained critically low for nearly 100,000 years. In evolutionary terms, this was not a setback. It was an extinction-level event narrowly avoided. The survival of such a small population for so long is astonishing. It means that, genetically, almost every human alive today can trace their ancestry back to that tiny group who endured through the harshest conditions the planet had seen in millions of years. If even a few of them had not survived, our lineage, and everything it would one day produce, might never have existed. The discovery redefined what scientists thought they knew about our early evolution. It revealed that humanity's past was not a smooth rise from primitive origins to global dominance, but a series of sharp bottlenecks and recoveries. Moments when the future of the species hung by a thread. The African genetic bottleneck stands as the most severe of them all. But what caused it? The evidence points to climate. Geological data shows that this period coincided with massive environmental instability across Africa and Eurasia. A global cooling trend transformed habitats, forcing species to migrate or die. Extended droughts may have wiped out food sources and fresh water. Large animals, on which early humans depended, vanished from vast regions. Isolated pockets of survivors may have clustered around remaining water sources, cut off from one another by deserts and barren plains. In that isolation, genetic diversity collapsed. As populations dwindled, random chance began to shape the course of evolution. Some genetic lineages disappeared entirely. Others survived by luck alone. The result was a dramatic narrowing of the human gene pool, a reduction so deep that it can still be detected in our genomes today. It's the reason all modern humans, despite coming from every corner of the planet, share such a remarkably similar genetic structure. The study's authors used DNA data from across the globe, not only from modern populations, but from ancient genomes recovered in Africa and Eurasia. To model how genetic variation changed through time, their algorithms simulated millions of generations, searching for a demographic pattern that could produce the genetic signatures seen today. Only one scenario fit the data: a long, sustained bottleneck beginning roughly 900 millennia ago. The human lineage did not merely shrink, it almost stopped existing. To put it into perspective, imagine every person on Earth reduced to the size of a small town. That was humanity's entire population for 100,000 years. Each birth, each death, each small migration carried enormous weight. If a few key lineages had been lost, humanity might have ended there, another forgotten branch on the evolutionary tree. When conditions finally began to stabilize, the surviving groups expanded again. Climate warmed, vegetation returned, and migration routes reopened. Those few thousand survivors spread across Africa, repopulating the continent and giving rise to new human lineages. From their descendants would emerge Homo heidelbergensis and later Homo sapiens, us. The genetic bottleneck, while devastating, had also reshaped the human genome, setting the foundation for everything that followed. But even as populations grew again, the imprint of that ancient crisis never vanished. Every genome sequence today still carries the trace of it, a measurable drop in diversity, like a scar left by an old wound. It is visible in the way our genes cluster, in the low variability of certain immune markers, in the subtle uniformity of our DNA. These are the quiet signatures of survival. This discovery also reframes the idea of human uniqueness. For decades, scientists have searched for the moment that set us apart: language, art, tools, intelligence. Yet this research suggests that what truly defined us may have been endurance. The ability to survive environmental collapse, to adapt to scarcity, and to persist long enough for evolution to take another turn. Humanity was not inevitable. It was improbable. The implications go beyond anthropology. The bottleneck likely influenced the trajectory of human evolution itself. With such a small gene pool, certain mutations could spread rapidly. Some may have been neutral or harmful, others advantageous. The crisis may have accelerated the development of traits that later defined our species. Larger brains, complex cooperation, or improved resilience to stress. In a sense, the future of humankind was decided in that long, narrow corridor of survival. When researchers discuss this event, they use the language of statistics: effective population size, generation time, mutation rates. But behind those numbers lies the most precarious moment in our history. The line between existence and extinction was only a few hundred lives wide, and that line held for 100,000 years. No other known bottleneck in human evolution comes close in scale or duration. Later events, such as the out of Africa migrations or the Toba volcanic eruption, were brief compared to this one. The African bottleneck wasn't a single disaster. It was a sustained collapse, stretching across geological time, shaping the very architecture of our DNA. Today, when geneticists map the relationships between populations, they see a convergence point, a place in time when all human lineages fuse into one. That point, the bottleneck, is where our shared story begins. Every human alive today, no matter how different in appearance or culture, descends from the same few hundred ancestors who endured through that dark age of climate and scarcity. Ancient DNA has made that invisible history visible. Where fossils could only hint, the genome speaks clearly. It tells us that humanity's survival was not guaranteed, that for most of our deep past we were fragile, rare, and close to vanishing. And it reminds us that the genetic diversity we see today, the billions of lives, the countless faces, all trace back to an event that nearly erased us. In the end, this discovery is both humbling and extraordinary. It shows us that our existence rests on a chain of survival so thin it almost broke. For nearly 100,000 years, a small population endured against odds that should have ended it. Every thought, every city, every heartbeat alive today exists because of that endurance. The African bottleneck is not just a scientific finding. It is a reminder that humanity's story began not in triumph, but in survival, and that the greatest mystery written in our DNA is not where we came from, but how we're here at all.